Hello, students. This is a video on the Tinkercad interface, basically how you get around Tinkercad and just kind of how and where everything is. So, we dropped in here on the recent designs, which is what you should see right when you log in. You can see I have a bunch of things here from projects students have sent me or things I've done over the years. You can, look at different, each one has its own little menu. Oops. You can see I can duplicate it in case I want to make one just like it, but a little different. I can move to project, which is something we're probably not going to do in here, or I can delete it. I should probably actually go through and delete a bunch of these because I have quite a few pages of projects that are a little bit older and not necessary for me anymore. But for now, I'm going to click on Create New Design. All right, so it's going to bring me to the work plane. All right, so this here is a work plane where you're going to do all your work, all of your designing. Right up here, you can change the name of the file, and you usually should right away. Otherwise, you're going to have Tinkercad's kind of nonsensical naming system do it for you. So I'll just call this Tinkercad Interface. We're not going to do anything on it today, at least in this video. So over here are all the shapes, and you can make this disappear if you want a little more room or a cleaner screen. They give you a bunch of basic shapes on the first screen right here, but if you click here, you can see you can go to text and numbers. There's characters, there's connectors, there's a whole lot of stuff here. Notice down here I have one, part of the menu says you and favorites, and there's some things that I've actually starred so they show up in my favorites menu, so that way I don't have to look for them. The problem with Tinkercad sometimes is finding things you want. There's no search for objects you might want to use on your project. You actually have to know where it is. So when you do find something you like, especially if it was hard to find, like let's say you're going through featured shapes and you found something you really like I don't know, bent pipe, and you drag it out and you mess with it and you're like, oh, this is exactly what I needed. What you can do is right next to it, click the little star, and it will show up in your favorites back on the menu. All right, so you'll find that handy later on. Again, it'll show up right down here. See, there it is. So we have a ruler up here. We have the work plane, which I tend not to use, but Mr. D does. It tends to make certain things easier if you understand how it works. Up top here, we have, I have to drag an object out. When you drag an object out, you get a little shape menu. There's usually some variables here you can change, not to mention the fact that you can make it a hole, which we'll get into later, and change colors. Up top, we have the grouping function. We have ungrouping. We have aligning. And you can also mirror it, in other words, reverse something if you're looking to make an exact copy except in the reverse, which has its advantages here and there. Over on the left, we have undo and redo, which can be very helpful depending on what you're doing, especially if you've made a mistake or you want to go back. You can always just undo what you've done. You can only do this within the certain session, though. So if you close Tinkercad and open it back up, you will not be able to undo the stuff you did before. All right, so undo and redo only works in the session you're working in just then. You can delete, you can duplicate, and over here we have the view cube, which I'll go over in another video, and some other options here for looking at your object, such as zooming in and isometric view and stuff like that. All right, so that is basically the interface. That's how you look around um, and move around. Actual moving, I'm going to get to in a separate video.